How's it going, everybody? Chase here. Today I'll be showing you my Pokemon deck. Now, this is a deck that I've been wanting to build for a couple of years now, but I finally was able to finish it earlier last year. This is not a competitive deck. This is just solely for casual play. I've never participated in a Pokemon tournament, or I don't really know what the meta is. But this is a really fun deck to play. It is a Garchomp Lucario deck. I'm going to show you the cards, and then I was going to show off some of the strategies that I use. Alright, let's get into it. First things first, I run 4 copies of Garchomp. This is one of my favorite versions of the card, or favorite cards of Garchomp. Mainly because of the Royal Blades attack. It's just a really powerful card. Next, I run 3 copies of Gabite. I run these versions of Gabite just because of the Ascension ability. Mainly because it speeds things up a lot. I run 4 copies of Gibble with the same Ascension move. I run 3 copies of Lucario. This is the one with the submarine blow that does 120 damage. And I run 3 copies of Riolu. And onto the trainers, I run 2 copies of Cynthia's Ambition. 4 Pokeball. I don't really use this card all that often. Sometimes it comes in handy. I run 4 copies of Cynthia, which is the engine of this deck. It really amps things up. And the rest of my trainers, or not all of them, the next 10 cards are pretty much just singles. I run 1 copy of Professor Juniper, 1 copy of Switch, 1 copy of Evo Soda, 1 copy of Silver Bangle, 1 copy of Random Receiver, 1 copy of Pokemon Catcher, 1 copy of Versus Seeker, which is a very good card, especially getting Cynthia back in the hand. I run 1 copy of Great Ball, 1 copy of Sheeran, 1 copy of Junk Arm, which is again really useful to getting, really good for getting the Versus Seeker back into the hand. I run 4 copies of Rare Candy. I run 4 copies of Ultra Ball, which just about every game that I've played with this deck, that usually appears at least once, at least one of the copies. I run 4 copies of Energy Search. I run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 copies of the Fighting Energy. And 4 double colorless energies. Now, the strategy that I go for in this deck is most of the time I'll usually open with at least 1 copy of Gibble. And this is just showing what usually happens like when I play this deck. But I usually open my hand with 1 copy of Gibble. And most of the time I'll have one of the energy searches in my hand. Activate that, add one of these from the deck to the hand, equip it to Gible and activating its Ascension lets me get Gavite onto the field. And usually that is good enough to protect you from one turn. And usually I'll get a hold of a copy of Ultra Ball and I'll discard the 2 cards to activate its effect, which lets me get Garchomp. Yeah, it lets me get Garchomp into my hand. And then I'll just put it on top of that. And I've got my ace monster on the field. Usually by the time that happens, I have a copy of my double colorless energy, and equipping it will give Garchomp the energy he needs to attack. And usually I draw into a copy of Cynthia, usually by my 4th turn. And activating her usually, will allow Garchomp to do 200 damage. But in case I'm not able to get Garchomp onto the field, that's where Lucario comes into the picture. Like, say for instance, I don't have Garchomp in play. Riolu is a pretty good basic Pokemon. And what I'll usually try to do is I usually try to line Riolu and Gible on the bench, because sometimes I never get Gible onto the field. Like, I'll never be able to get him onto the field. And there's been times where I've had like 3 Riolus on my bench, or 2 on my bench and 1 in my active zone. And over time, I'll be able to equip the energy to the Riolus to get them powered up, and then I'll try to get Lucario onto the field quickly. And usually the Submarine Blow will do enough damage to knock out a Pokemon. Unless I'm playing against something like GX or Mega Pokemon. But this is usually a secondary strategy. My go-to is always Garchomp. And the supporters that I have allow me to get Cynthia in my hand at least 4 times. Thanks to cards like the Junk Arm to get the Versus Seeker from my used pile back to my hand, so that way I can activate it to get Cynthia back in the hand. And I'm able to usually knock out about 4 Pokemon before I have to rely on Garchomp's 100 damage Royal Blades, because by then I'm already used up all of my means to get Cynthia out. But it's just a very fun strategy to play. It's budget friendly. I only spent $15 on, I think it was TCG Player, to get a hold of these cards. Most of them I had already, like the double colorless energies I've had for years. Same goes for the fighting energies. But it's just a really fun strategy to play. And ironically enough, when I looked it up, it turns out that this was in the meta game about 5 years ago, 2018. And I thought that was really cool, because I didn't know it, but this was from a structure deck, the Garchomp, or theme deck. And I just fell in love with the idea of using Garchomp and Cynthia. It's just a really fun deck to play. I think it's something, or a deck that a lot of people should at least try once. Maybe not the exact way that I did, or the exact card list that I used. But it's a lot of fun to play. And I just wanted to show off the sleeves. These are from the Trainer Toolkit. Pretty cool. I love the purple color. But anyways, that's pretty much going to do it for my review of my Pokemon TCG deck. And if you enjoyed this video, consider liking. I upload almost daily. And until next time, have a good one.